Maurizio Barbieri, who's head of sport for MSC SCA Samsung Asia. To invite Maurizio up. Round of applause, please. From Astro, CK Lee, who's VP of Sport Business. Annabel Pennefather, who's head of sports law practice from KhattarWong. And Patrick Murphy, who's CEO of the Catalyst Media Group. Welcome, everybody. We're going to try and keep this to 30 minutes, so I'm going to fire probably one question. We've got a very varied panel here, I'm sure you agree with from the introduction. So I'm going to kick off with Maurizio. It seems like it's no longer enough for a company like Samsung to just produce great products at a great price. There's now an expectation that with those devices comes content. How are you changing, to deliver that content as well as the hardware?
Well, I guess that the industry, the consumer electronic industry, already proved that this is the case, right? Samsung has become the biggest phone manufacturer in the world. Now it's about trying to find the right content that can drive adoption of this technology and can keep our actual customers happy and the future customers coming in so that they can change their devices, right? Sports is a major passion point. I mean, we just heard how big it is, right? Football here in this region. Football is big everywhere. Look at what happened in the United States, how much NBC invested in content so that they can drive the new channel, right? So why not a company that has millions of devices in the pockets, backpacks, and in the homes of millions of people here in this region? Why not trying to see if we can leverage this passion, providing them with what fans care about, whether it's football, whether it's badminton, whether it's tennis. That's we have to find out. But like we are providing movies, books, music, why not trying to provide also sports content?
And are we reaching the point where that content is as much a driver of the decision, the brand decision, as the performance of the product?
I guess that we do make great products, and sales prove it. But it's also a matter where now hardware is kind of commoditized, right? If you put together different tablets or different phones, you cannot tell the difference who made what, right? So trying to find the right content proposition for our customers and future ones, I think that is the biggest selling point that we might have in the future.
Okay. CK, to you, as a broadcaster, in Australia, where Justin alluded to it before, we're in a situation where football is competing with 3 other codes called football. The A-League is a challenger league because the English Premier League is obviously so accessible in Australia. What we've seen is the A-League working with their local broadcaster, allowing things like locked-off cameras in changing rooms. Coaches have been live on air sharing their tactical plan before the game. Players have been interviewed leaving the pitch at half-time. So how important is it from your perspective that the local leagues are more open to giving access and innovation and insights to their audience that maybe the bigger leagues wouldn't, because they don't have to?
Yeah, it is very important because, like you say, we are not only competing against different sports or different leagues within our own country. We're competing against like the Premier League, Spanish La Liga, and the Champions League matches and all that. So in a way, our company right now is in a phase of growing local sports. So it's very important for us. So when we signed the deal with the local football association 3 years ago, at first they were pretty skeptical they're like, okay, media company, it's the first time that even the commercial rights are being sold to us, what can they do? But we have shown them through like innovative production, like what you just mentioned. We do the broadcast in HD. We create special graphics, isolated camera feeds, and then they saw that we are actually working hard to grow the league with them, and then they get the branding has increased. People are able to identify the teams, the players, which for the last 10 years nobody knew half who these players and teams were. And then they started to be open to us, and they even invited us to sit on their competition committee, and we have worked out some initiative that will help improve and also commercialize the league, like introduction of a Friday night football, which is a special match day created just for TV, which they never had it for the last 20 years. And then now we have an extra match day of football just for TV, and we work together with them on social media program. It's called Sorakan 12 in Malay. It basically means the 12th man cheer. So it's basically based on discussion of what the fans think of the football league, the players, the teams, and then we get feedback, and then we work with them to try to improve it and respond to all this social media feedback. And we always embrace sports association to work together with us, because in Malaysia, like I say, we're still trying to compete with the international sports. And in this way, we can grow the pie bigger, and then it's a win-win for both parties.
Okay. Annabel, I want to talk. Someone referenced it earlier. Obviously the 2020 Olympics is coming back to the region, to Japan. This is another opportunity from a football perspective, which is what this panel is, to host a global football tournament for the best young footballers on the planet, male and female. What impact can that have, and what can the stakeholders here do in the lead up to that to ensure that we take full advantage?
Well, I think first and foremost, if we're looking at the football tournaments itself, and if we've watched London 2012, and I think you're going to see full stadiums. The Japanese are really ardent supporters of football. We saw that in the World Cups in 2002, and there'll be many fans coming from around the world. So football for sure. I think both the men's, which is an under-23 event, and the women's, which is open, is going to attract a large audience. I think those who have watched the women's game recently, especially at the Euro Championships and the East Asian, will see that the game has improved significantly. Many of my men friends tell me, wow, they can control the ball so well, and that's amazing, and they've even sat through and wanted to see more matches. So I think that's good for the women's game, and it's definitely going to attract an audience, and more so because Japan's women's team has been doing well. In winning the 2011 World Cups and being ranked third on FIFA's list. So they're definitely going to be targeting to win a medal, and that's going to be an exciting prospect. And I think in the men's event, there's no issue, because you're going to see the bright young talents of the future, the Neymars, the Messis of the future, and that's going to be I think definitely something that's going to be attractive to all who are there. What it will do for the region is, I think, what we are going to see after Rio 2016 is that there will be more teams coming out to the region, more athletes trying to get a feel of the venues, trying to do their planning for their high performance, and that will be out in Japan, in Tokyo, at the venues. But also, whilst they are there, I think it will give other countries in the region the opportunity maybe to have these teams stop over as well, which will give more opportunities for teams in the region to play and maybe have smaller tournaments. And like we saw in Beijing, even before the Olympics, there will be countries from outside the region who will be wanting to establish bases where they can do their final warm-up before the games and flying into Tokyo. And again, this will be, I think, an opportunity for countries in the region to play host. So I think that's one opportunity that should be looked into. And also, if I can add, I mean, talking about the Singapore Sports Hub, and I know there are some of my friends from the Hub and the Sports Council sitting out there, but I wanted to say that as the Hub will certainly be looking at attracting top men's football teams here to play, because that will certainly draw the crowds. They should also look down the road at staging a top-level women's football event, featuring teams from Germany, Brazil, Japan. And I'm sure if added to the WTA tournament, which Tracy mentioned earlier and which is so exciting, add that a top women's football event, other top women's events, whether it's table tennis, basketball, rugby, cricket. But I think longer term, the Sports Hub can establish itself as a venue where you see top women's sports as well as alongside top men's sports. And I think that will also throw up a lot of new opportunities for sponsors. So I hope we can see that some way down the road.
Okay. Patrick, I'm going to jump somewhere else now. You've had very close experience working on what's the premier regional football club competition in the world, UEFA Champions League. You're now in Asia. We look at the AFC Asian Champions League. What, in your view, can the AFC do to raise the profile, the marketability of the Asian Champions League, which probably, being honest, isn't where it would like to be at the moment?
Well, I think it's a big question. If you actually ask about marketability, probably the starting point is to try and figure out how you measure that. So you're probably looking at audiences, which is a very simple way of measuring the success of a property, but also looking at the levels of engagement and interests that property gets. So, that's the kind of area that we need to look into if you're talking about trying to grow the Asian Champions League. Not to spend too much time on the UEFA Champions League, but just quickly to look at some of the things there that have made that very successful. First of all, it's an incredible product. I don't even like using the word product around teams and athletes, but it is an incredible product. It features the best of the best, and so it has a huge advantage there. It's got an incredible brand, which has been, I would say, almost ruthlessly implemented. Our colleagues at Manchester United are used to team coming in for 20 years and making sure the stadiums look exactly the same as the stadium in Barcelona. My ex-colleagues would probably be calling CK every couple of weeks saying, why did you promote it that way? Why didn't you promote it that way? So the brand is desperately important, and how the brand is implemented is very important. And then thirdly, you've got the actual commercial concept itself, which in my opinion doesn't necessarily mean that much unless the product is really good, and I'll come back to that in the context of the AFC. But in terms of a commercial concept, you need to have something that works incredibly well for television, and the Champions League actually was the original, I think, sports format outside the States that was pretty much built for television. All the matches take place at exactly the same time, Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 20:45. So what that creates in marketing parlance is an appointment to view. And over 20 years, that means that pretty much every football fan in the world knows that the Champions League is taking place at a certain time on a certain day. So that gives, incredible brand strength as well. You also have a very strong sponsorship format, one where less is more has always been the philosophy. For many years, the competition only had 4 sponsors, but those sponsors got huge impact. There was the packaging of commercial airtime with the on-ground benefits. So there were a lot of strong marketing innovations that came along with the Champions League. But they came on the back of an incredibly strong product. Okay, so perhaps moving to the AFC, I think World Sports Group have done an amazing job on all of those commercial elements that I've just talked about. But the fact of the matter is that I think the AFC, and I think they'd probably be the first to admit this themselves, are facing just kind of structural or product issues. The fact of the matter is the region is vast. It stretches from the Middle East right across to Australia, and from the north of China, Korea, right down to Australia. And, within that huge geographical group, you've got very different cultures, very different countries that don't necessarily have a huge connection to each other. Perhaps not for always the best reasons. There is a strong connection between the English and the French, and the English and the Germans, and the Spanish and the English. So there's a big history and rivalry that exists there that doesn't necessarily exist within this vast AFC region. And so I think that's one issue. I think there's other complications, like the fact that the leagues don't take place at the same time at every part in the region. So it's very hard to keep a momentum going. One of the really strong factors about the Champions League is what we call in the business neutral games. That's a game where you might have Manchester United playing against AC Milan. How does that match perform in a neutral country, not in the UK and not in Italy? And the answer with the Champions League, the UEFA Champions League, is that it performs extremely well. It doesn't really matter where you are in the world. That's an incredible match to watch. You want to watch that match. And I think some of the problems that the AFC face is that, you know, a game between a Middle Eastern team and a Japanese team just doesn't probably resonate very well in say, Southeast Asia or in Australia. So I think that the issue for the AFC Champions League are probably more structural. I think that if some of those structural issues can be addressed, then you can add on all the marketing techniques that that have made the UEFA Champions League very successful, and build it from there. But the structural ones are hard to change.
Okay. To everyone, maybe Jamie can kick this off. Probably one of the biggest evolution in football consumption, or even sports consumption, has been the second screen experience. As in, now it's no longer just about the TV. It's about, what have I got on my tablet? Is it Twitter? Is it an app? Is it and that connection? Yeah. Have you, crystal ball time, sort of thought what's next from each of your perspectives? I'd be interested to find out where you think this is going to go. What's coming next, and how are your own businesses gearing up for that?
Well, we launched Twitter last month, so we're not doing a lot of crystal ball gazing, I think. I'll defer to Maurizio, maybe, who's more of a visionary on that. I mean, frankly, we're very focused on just making sure that folks are able to watch the live game. I mean, you told me an anecdote the other night about, chaps outside a bar rolling up on their motorcycles, not actually going in and spending any money, but just watching it through the window. So we spent a lot of time working with the Premier League, in particular, on maximizing the TV distribution, because we ultimately believe, it's a live visual product, and all the ancillary stuff that comes around that is positive from an engagement perspective. But from a Premier League perspective, although we're in 200 countries, a lot of it's still on pay TV. There's minimal distribution in some countries. If you look at the US, without picking on the former rights owners, I think what you've seen the NBC doing over the last 3-4 months in terms of promoting English football, that is going to do more than anything else in terms of new technologies of driving adoption of fandom of the Premier League, and we're already seeing that reflect itself in the first 4 or 5 games of the season in terms of the TV ratings we're getting in the US are about 2.5 times what they were last season because of the push that NBC is giving.
I guess that the reality is that you are not watching TV anymore, and that's it. You are watching TV and you're talking with some other people that you might know or you might not know. You watch a TV series, or in this case, a live sports event, and you are checking your tweet stream. You're updating your Facebook status. You're making sure that you are connected, right? Because it's so easy to be able to share what you're watching with somebody else that is watching exactly the same thing and might have a different color when it comes to shirt, but same passion when it comes to sports. Now, I'm not trying to plug in my product, SportsFlow, that you are carrying around your necks, but our approach was, why don't we create something that can keep the sports fans engaged, not just around football, but about sports in general, something that can be used while you are watching an event, or while you are commuting on the MRT here in Singapore, or you are waiting for your taxi to show up to take you somewhere else. So the idea is you have something that you are passionate about, extremely passionate when it's live on TV. Why not giving you an app, in this case, that allows you to share this passion with somebody else? And even when the game is over, you can read about it, you can tweet about it, you can share it with your friends. So I think that we are going to see this kind of behavior more and more, because it's easier and easier to be connected while you are doing something else.
CK, as a broadcaster, you know, this is obviously has implications for your business, because you used to own it. You used to have them. They were looking at the TV. Now they've potentially got one or two other screens. How do you change your offering, evolve your offering to cater to that?
Yeah, it is very important. We feel that it should be a companion app. You know, if we do local football, we own all the cameras, the feeds, and all. What we would like to do probably in the next 1 to 3 years for the local league is to have like a companion app that will make the viewer director. So, for example, if you miss the goal or you want to watch it on a replay, you know, you just pull back your tablet, scroll it back, you see the goal in different camera angles if you want it, and then it's important to have them connected to their friends. So we have the social media plug there, so he can listen or speak to his friends on what they're watching, on what's their favorite topic about that day. So yeah, we are looking to that direction, and we think for a TV broadcaster, the companion app is the way to go, because I still think sports looks glorious in HD on a big screen and all that, but a companion app to complement the TV broadcast would be the way to go.
Okay. I'm going to change tack a little bit. One of the questions, I actually got a question for the panel tweeted to me last night. That was very well ahead. And I think we've got a spread of people here. Annabel, Patrick, I'm going to come to you first on this. The question that I got asked was, what was the panel's view of FIFA's intention or signalled intention to move the World Cup to a European Winter World Cup? I'd love the legal perspective. I'd like the broadcast
perspective. Real story, or
I'd like the sponsor perspective, and I'd like the Premier League club perspective on that.
I think all I can say first is that there will be many views, as there are lawyers in the world, because every party involved is going to be seeking legal advice. So it will be interesting to see how it proceeds. And clearly, you know, the issues that are being raised, one would wonder whether, you know, they would have already been on the table at the time the bids were put in. So, and also, I guess, ultimately, it will depend on the longer-term relationships between parties. But certainly, it's going to be a busy time for lawyers, I'm sure, ahead.
I don't actually want to make it any more busy for lawyers than it already is, and for that reason, I'm not going to repeat any of the rumours that I've heard about the background to the decision about Qatar in the first place, the background as to why they wanted to move it. There's obviously a lot of stuff out there in the market about how all of that happens. What I would say is, from somebody who sells rights and has been selling kind of leading European rights, it's just going to be very, very complicated, because the rights are not only sold in 3-year blocks, but they're also planned years and years back. So it is going to be complicated. My suspicion is that it will happen, and that the parties who are lining up against that at the moment will be compensated in some shape or form. I think that's what's going to actually happen. I think what happens in the presidential election, the next FIFA presidential election, is going to be very important. So there's a lot of different elements to it, but I think one rumor that's probably not libelous is that there was an attempt to even change, you know, the structure of the world leagues. You know, that was one of the maybe wilder rumors that I heard. But we'll see. You know, in the end, we'll see.
CK, as a broadcaster, your view on how would you incorporate that if that became the reality?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's still the World Cup. You know, our viewers expect it, wherever it's held, what time it's held. I think the viewership will still be there. Sponsorship, I'm not too sure. You know, that's a give and take depending on this issue right now. But you know, for all football fans, it's still the World Cup. That's my take on it.
Maurizio, your view?
I need to agree with Patrick. I mean, it's a challenge. They need to find a way to get out of this situation. It's the World Cup that everybody wants, like CK just mentioned. So it will end up that everybody will find a solution. Leagues might, or the people that are against this change might get compensated. The good thing is
it's a
that
pretty long list, though.
Yeah,
that's all the bidding countries. I mean, Australia broke ranks yesterday and said that they're seeking compensation for the money they spent.
Fox in the States is
the
going to
leagues,
sue because it's
the Premier League.
It's a $1 billion US TV deal, and it goes right up against the Super Bowl. It's going to cost FIFA a lot of money. That's what's going to happen, in my opinion.
I think that it's going to be fun to watch, though. I mean, 9 years from now, what are we going to do? We are going to watch on big screen, small screen, medium screen, that kind of stuff.
We'll probably still be talking about this at next year's Sports Matter. So, how far are we down that track, Jamie? From the club's perspective, how much is that? Football, English Premier League football goes from August to May. How is that going to influence your business and impact your business if that is broken up? Because it's not just that season that it impacts. It impacts the Champions League. It impacts the end of the season before.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not much I can add beyond what the folks have already said. I think the Premier League Scudamore has made his position pretty clear on it. The point I was going to make was what Patrick just referenced, which is, you have the United States is the single largest provider of funds to the World Cup, just given the audience it delivers, and it comes up against, a couple of their key sports. So I think there's a long battle ahead. From our perspective, look, the good news is it's 9 years from now, so I'd probably be long gone, and it'll be someone else's issue to deal with.
All right, I've got one last question. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We've got about 3 minutes. So I'm going to put a statement out there, and I want the panel's view just to close things off. It's always been said that football's nothing without the fans, but to what extent is that still true? Or is the truth now that football's nothing without the broadcasters and the sponsors? And is that potentially a dangerous place for us to go?
The broadcasters and the sponsors and advertisers, they just follow the audiences. I mean, that's all they do. I don't think CK is a charitable cause. He's investing heavily in football and sports because at the end of the day, that's driving his business. And I suspect that Samsung is exactly the same. So for me, what's important is the health of the product, making sure the product is strong, because if it is, the audiences will continue to engage with it in a positive way, and then the TV and the advertising money will follow.
Annabel?
Well, I think certainly the fans are definitely key, because if you look at the matches in Europe where there are no supporters allowed in because, some teams are being penalized, and they can be playing, but the atmosphere, the excitement is not there, and the fans are so important to make the game, the beautiful game, what it is. So I think it's true to say the fans are really important. And of course, as Patrick says, once that happens, then certainly it's good for the broadcasters and the sponsors as well.
But see, CK, as a broadcaster, sometimes obviously we see kick-off times manipulated for TV broadcast times, and it might seem that the fans are secondary in that case. How do you feel about that? Where are the fans in your sort of calculation?
I mean, the paying fan is important, of course. Right?
Yeah.
But if you look at it, if you can say that you want to put the fans as a secondary nature, it's actually not. We're creating more product for the fans. For example, additional kickoff times or additional match days. So it's actually a benefit to the fans. It's not to say that we are putting them aside and not looking after their welfare. So also the broadcasters also can become a medium for the fans' voice. We can create programs or social media pages to get feedback from the fans, and we can always look back at our production quality or our programming quality, and then we can look at how we can move to improve.
I think that from a technology perspective, we are in a great situation, right? We have great product on the field thanks to the clubs that have great players. The broadcasters are showing top quality footage. Like CK said, there's a will to do even more. the staggered kickoff times are actually a good thing for fans, right? Because you can watch more. The La Liga is showing almost every game because you don't play games at the same time. As Samsung, we want to provide this great quality product to our customers because I think that we can engage them around this great game.
Final words, Jamie?
I mean, I think the panel said it well. Ultimately, the broadcasters and advertisers are following the fans. The onus then is on us as Man United or other rights holders to deliver on the promise that we're making to those broadcasters in terms of audience, in terms to sponsors, in terms of the engagement we're going to deliver for them. And obviously, as the dollar figures ratchet up, those expectations get higher and higher. We would say this, but we believe that we're delivering value, and people are rational actors in the market. They can choose to spend that money or not. But obviously, as those dollar figures ratchet up, the onus on us is to keep behaving in a professional manner and to keep delivering to their expectations. Otherwise, the money will flow away.
Brilliant. Please, everyone, join me in thanking my panel. Patrick, Annabel, CK, Maurizio and Jamie. As we said at the outset, to try and condense football into an hour was always going to be a tough gig, but hopefully we managed to touch enough areas. If there's other areas where you would like to pick up with any of us, please find us over the next 2 days, and maybe we'll get football to have a couple of hours next year. So, thanks everyone.